Well, the EQC's chief executive says a critical report into wide-ranging deficiencies at the EQC made public yesterday is absolutely correct in its findings. The report, authored by the independent ministerial advisor Christine Stevenson, found a culture hamstrung by disorder and dysfunction. Among its recommendations is a requirement to change the way caseloads are managed and to treat claimants with more empathy and respect. The Minister for the EQC, Dr. Megan Woods, told Checkpoint yesterday that she wants all the report's recommendations implemented. The CEO for EQC, Sid Miller, says he accepts the report but is at a loss to explain how things got so bad. He says he's assured the Minister he's focused on addressing the concerns.
The key thing for me was sort of around about September last year. I put in place all the actions for a case management model, and that included the setting up of the Canterbury Business Unit. So really getting that working is very much a high priority for me. And there's a number of reasons in that, but the main one being it gives the customer a single point of focus for working through and addressing their claim. And so then there's an organisation in terms of how do we support the case management. I know the report recommends additional resource to get the case management level down to 100. I actually want to go further than that because where you're dealing with very complex cases, I think 100 is too high. And so we're looking at the resourcing and how do we get settlement specialists that have a claim management, have a caseload that they can actually manage very effectively to deliver good customer experience. The other key piece.
It's June now, and you started that in September. The report that's come out says there are still problems. So what can you change now, and what's your first priority for changing?
Absolutely. So the other piece that we've actually got going on in the organisation is we are reviewing all our processes, the culture, the people, the system side of things. So we're looking at every process and how we work, what actually happens, what is the customer experience through that, how can we remove blockages in there or points where the customer has to wait for something. So what are all the things we can do to improve the speed with which resolution occurs? How do we deal with how we communicate and how often we communicate and get all those things built in? So we're actually taking a full look at the whole way we work to address all the different issues.
Some of the recommendations in the report were that EQC needed to be better at treating customers with respect and honesty. It needed more empathy, needed to be more transparent. How did it come to this?
I can't really say, specifically go, well, this occurred at this point in time. I can't say that. All I can say is, I am focused on ensuring we address these issues. I have been with the whole focus on the case management piece because that does treat people with much more empathy and respect. But there's a lot more we can do other than just case management, and that's the way we communicate. It's actually by speeding up the whole process and informing people about where they are in that process so they understand what they're going to receive from EQC and when. So look, I'm focused on fixing this, moving forward and addressing these recommendations.
The report says that even EQC's own staff couldn't have confidence in the data and the numbers, and we've seen the numbers change so often. How do you address that? What specifically are you doing to make sure that the data is correct?
Yeah, so we've, as you mentioned, we've had this problem with we've moved from a version 4 of our claims management system to a version 8, and we identified additional claims within there. But what that has enabled us to do is to get better clarity on the numbers and where the claims are within the individual sort of settlement cycle.
What's your message for those who have a claim relating to an unsold house?
In terms of the EQC position and trying to deal with their claim in accordance with the Act, then absolutely we're focused on addressing those. In terms of dealing with the issues that the report mentions about on-sold, we're working with Treasury and the Minister and the legal community in terms of looking at the test cases there to try and find a solution for this, which is where the problem is, if you like, above the EQC Act. So but we'll still deal with it within the bounds of the Act.
What about the Official Information Act, making people go through that kind of burdensome process for information that they were entitled to? It must have been a waste of money as well as potentially a waste of time. Are you prepared to open that up as the report has suggested?
Absolutely. Making that easier for people is a key key priority from the report, and how do we do that, and giving them access to that information. So absolutely.
And that was the EQC CEO Sid Miller there.